first From Software game was called Kingsfield, and it got released on the PlayStation in 1994. You're listening to the Xbox Hub podcast, the official podcast of the txboxhub.com. For all the latest Xbox news, reviews, videos, and opinions, make sure you visit the txboxhub.com. But for now, settle down, get comfy, and open your ears for some podcast delights. Hello, welcome to the Xbox Hub official podcast, episode 178. My name's Gareth Bronny. I'm going to be your host, and my virtual opposite is Paul Renshaw, because we've only got two people today, me and Paul. It's a one-on-one, Paul. How do you feel about this?
I'm somewhat nervous, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got my name right, because you always have that little hesitation when I think God, he's forgotten who he is.
It's me taking a shot of gin in between.
So I'm quite looking forward to this. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. Director.
Now, we've only got, I think everyone just can't do this week, so we had a little gap after the Starfield special, and now we're back. But there'll be more people next week. But it's good. It's good to do. We've done a two-hander before with me and Neil, I think, and me and Richard. And we've got loads of games to talk about. So that's what we're going to do. It might be a little bit shorter because we're just going to talk about games actually today because we're going to catch up. Paul, but how's your week been?
Well, my week has been one of ups and downs, I think it's fair to say. It all sort of started on Thursday when I took my car for its MOT, and completely surprising me, it sailed through, no advisories, no nothing.
Great.
So I thought, brilliant, nothing else can go wrong today. Now, as I'm a man of advancing years, as you'll know, because you're in the same kind of neighbourhood, we've got to keep on top of our health, haven't we? We've got to try and keep fit and look after ourselves. So me and one of the girls at work have taken up running. So we went running on Tuesday and everything was fine. And then we went running on Thursday lunchtime. And about halfway round, one of my calf muscles went twang and decided that, it wasn't a good idea to run anymore. So as I was hobbling back to the office, the other calf muscle went twang. So then I was trying to walk back to the office limping with both legs, which is
Paul,
quite hard to do.
Can I ask a question, Paul? You
can. Why were you going for a run at 50 years old, you bellend?
No. Did you have a plan? Did you do an app plan, or were you just going to?
Yeah, we have an app plan.
Which one are you doing?
It's called, I'm assured by the lady who selected it, it's called Fit Bitch. And basically, this first week sounded quite easy. You have to run for a minute and then walk for 2 minutes and then run for a minute and repeat that 10 times. So, you're on your feet and moving for half an hour.
That's a good one.
Which I thought, I can do that. Tuesday, no problem. Thursday, oh dear me, all the problems.
Yeah.
So I spoke to 111 and they said, go to your urgent treatment centre. So I went to the urgent treatment centre and they said, we can't do anything for you. You're going to need to go to A&E. So I went and sat in A&E until 10:30 last night to be told, here's some crutches. We can't do anything for you. And don't go running for at least 6 weeks. So I'm currently hobbling around like an 80-year-old.
Yeah.
I've got to take the smallest, tiniest steps. So it took me, how long did it take? It took me 20 minutes to walk the sort of 400 yards back to the car last night. It was just ridiculous. So
maybe running's not for you.
Don't go running, kids. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to sit in my chair and do like them armchair exercises that old people do.
Swimming. That's what you should do. Swimming would be better for you.
Swimming would be better. There is a river at the bottom of the office sort of bit. So maybe. Yeah.
Oh, Paul, damn, terrible.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you, honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous.
What have I been doing this week? I'm in the middle of a big project now, so I'm like worky, and we've been doing loads of review games in between. So I've just been doing review games, but I did get to play Starfield, and that's the last one we had. So you going to go to Starfield yet, Paul?
I haven't had a chance yet. No. This I don't know if you know this fella called Neil. He keeps sending me all of these games that apparently have to be reviewed straight away. So Yeah, I never get a chance to play anything for fun like a filthy casual.
I think I've done about 8 hours of it. And Richard's review, if you haven't read it yet, was spot on. I might have gone a bit lower, you know. I might have gone 4.
Would you have gone 7 out of 10?
Oh, yeah. No, maybe 4. 4 out of 5? I don't know.
4 out of 10?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Yeah, not 4 out of 10. No. Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. But there's something about it. I don't know. Not gelling me yet. Maybe it will.
I thought you'd be all over it because you love a space game, don't you?
Yeah, but it's just it's Fallout in space. It is Fallout in space. That's what it really is. It feels very familiar when you've played Fallout a lot, and that's a good thing. But I don't know. I'm going to keep going. There's lots of it I kind of go, ooh, and then I go, oh. So, yeah, but it's there. It's a big game. I'm sure I'm going to get into it after 20 hours or something. At the moment, I'm a bit... Okay, let's talk about games, because you've played some... You've got really important games that are coming out. What do you want to talk about first, Paul? Do you want to talk about the one that's coming out next week on Game Pass that you reviewed and spent some time
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fully expecting some ribbing over the score as well. So
I'm not going to say a word.
That'll be a first. Okay, well, the game in question that you're referring to is called Lies of P. Not Life of Pi, like you kept calling it.
I called it for years, yeah.
I must admit, I've not come across the bit with the boat and the tiger yet. So, but yeah, Lies of P. It's a dark and twisted retelling of Pinocchio mixed with a Souls-like game. And it's very, very good. I think this will be right up your alley when you try it out, Gareth.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Because you're a fan of a Souls-like.
I do like a
this
Souls-like.
one is very good. The action is intense and flipping hard, if we're being family friendly. And the graphics look lovely. It's set in this kind of, they describe it as Belle Epoque, which is, some kind of historical period. And everything's really ornate and glitzy and nice. But once the puppets have risen up against their nasty human overlords, they've just destroyed the place. So there's a proper sort of post-apocalyptic feel to the graphics and the presentation. And it is a Souls-like, you run around, you kill things, you get Ergo is the currency in this game rather than Souls. And then you take that back and you can upgrade your weapons and upgrade yourself, and you can put quartz into your pee organ, which I did have a little snigger to myself when I read that first. But yeah, it's really, really good. There's a couple of little issues that stopped it getting a 5.
Yeah.
First of all, the camera, especially in a boss fight. If the boss backs you into a corner, the camera freaks out and you can't see what's happening. So I didn't like that bit. And the controls for jumping are exactly the same as they were in Dark Souls 1, where you have to run and then you click the left stick to jump. Now, obviously, left stick is direction as well. So if you click it and slightly turn it at the same time, you jump off the edge and die. So, yeah, there's been a few choice words as I've been going through. I'm just got through the roof of the cathedral, and there's lots of running and jumping in that bit. And, yeah, there was many bad words and restarts.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
You can indeed.
With, I think it's fair to say, I think Elden Ring, the last From Software game, well, not the last From Software game, because you're going to talk about one in a minute, is the Souls-like of that. The story is there, but you kind of have to find the story, don't you? Yes. The story is you. Does this have that, or is it much more story sort of given to you on the plate a bit?
There is more of a sort of structure to this game rather than you having to go and seek it out. But having said that, you don't have it shoved down your throat. So, like, you go on missions to rescue people. And then when those people come back to the hub, you talk to them and you get more background about what's going on and stuff. So, yeah, the story's there because obviously it's based on the Pinocchio story. Yeah. But yeah, the story is quite enjoyable. I'm enjoying it so far.
And I remember us on the podcast, we saw some gameplay from about 6 months ago. I think they showed it at one of the things, and I think we all were a bit like, oh, it didn't look that great. I think they showed about 40 minutes or something, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
No, it didn't look great. That's unfair. We were all a bit, it wasn't as, has it, you saw that as well. Has it improved since then? Do you feel like this?
Yeah, it's definitely improved.
Right.
I can't remember the details of what we saw, but did we see any boss fights in that?
I think we saw kind of like, there's a really weird clip to show. They were kind of going through and then they end up at a boss fight and then I think it stopped.
Yeah, the boss fights are obviously the Bane thing. So some of them are, they're Dark Souls worthy, let's put it that way. So, it's really come on. It flows, the combat feels really nice. It just works. So, yeah. And the review is on the site now, and I gave it 4.5.
4.5 out of 5. And when's it out? Is it on Tuesday on Game Pass?
It's out now on early access.
Right.
And I think it's either Monday or Tuesday. It's for the rest of us.
Okay. It's getting strong reviews, isn't it? It's getting
apparently
good.
so.
Yeah. So that's really exciting. Another big Game Pass game. It's kind of mad, isn't it? A big one there. I'm going to first talk about the First Descendant, which I had a little bit of a preview code for about 4 days. If you don't know what the First Descendant is, because I don't really, and I've played 4 days of it, and it's a free to play, which I didn't realise till after I played it. Really, later on, that's what the idea is. 4-player co-op, and it's in the mix. It reminded me a lot of Destiny in a sense. You got a little home hub that you can go along. You see people online, and then you get your team. You can play on your own, and it's basically kind of that kind of setup of you've got a mission, you go out, shoot a looter kind of thing, grabbing kind of as much gear as possible, and a boss battle at the end. That's what I did on the preview a couple of times. It felt like, for some reason, I don't know what happened in the preview. I think they really made us quite, like, really high level. It felt like we were really rattling through. I did the first boss battle in about 2 minutes. I thought, this is weird. Have they leveled us up and put us at a high level? But there's something, it sounds, because it's free to play, so there's a bit like the Warframe games that has a similar feel to those as well.
Yeah.
But it looks great. I think it's Unreal Engine 5. It looks really good. The landscapes look good. Everything looks good about it. And I had a good time with it. I did have a good time apart from me, feeling that it was very easy. It did feel a bit light sometimes on the shooting, when it's just like you feel like you're not, there's nothing, there's no weight to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably might change that because this is only the beta. It was good fun. It was much better than I expected. Actually, I thought, this is going to be. I had a good time fighting. There was a choice of I think 3 characters we could choose from, and I think there's going to be loads of them when it gets released. There's a woman with kind of bunny ears. I chose a kind of like knight thing, which is a big armoured person. You have a sort of special ability as well that you can use with each one of those. Yeah, it's good fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm quite interested. I like the story. I mean, it's great that it's free to play. It's not going to be out till I think next year, first quarter. So there's a bit of time. They probably will do another beta again. I think probably. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what happens with it. With all these things, what are the, what's the incentive money wise?
Yeah,
there's
going to be. You said there's going to be loads of characters, but being free to play, and my cynical head on, I would suggest that they're going to be locked away behind paywalls.
Yeah, but it might be nice to see it with just to see the engine work.
Yeah,
that was good. That was good fun. Let's talk about another one of your big ones.
Another big one coming up. Speaking of From Software, as we were, I've been hands-on with their latest Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Now, I'd never played an Armored Core game before this one, so I didn't really know what to expect. And at first, I kind of went into it like I was playing a Souls game. So dashing around and skating from side to side and trying to get away from baddies that way. But once you embrace the absolute craziness of the combat system, it's amazing. The combat is fully 3-dimensional. Your robot can jump, it can hover, it can dash in the air. So, it's just as valid a tactic to dodge an attack by going up into the air as it is to strafe to the side. And you can't see it, but I'm doing all the hand motions here next. So, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Trying to figure out which way's up, which way's down sometimes is quite hard work. But it's absolutely mental. It's so fast and it's so fluid. And it's just absolutely brutal mech combat.
And is it hard? It's a really hard game.
Oh, God, yeah, it's hard. It's From Software. I don't think they know what the word easy means. Yes, it's very hard. It's not the same kind of setup as an Elden Ring. It's not an open world game.
Right.
You have a hub. You go back to it. It's like a hangar. You can upgrade your mech, buy new bits, and give it a paint job and stuff. And then you go out and you do a mission. So you're given an area, and then you accomplish the mission in that area. And then it's back to the hub again afterwards.
And is a mission finishing with a big boss, a big mech?
Not all of them.
Okay.
It seems to be that you go through a couple of, well, I say easy missions, but they're not. You go through a couple of easier missions, and then finally you get onto a boss. But some of the bosses are fantastic. Oh, excuse me. One of them is like a giant walker, and you have to attack its legs to stop it. And then you have to climb up and jump up its body and take out various generators, and then you have to go and fight the head part of it. And that's one of the early ones.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's very, very impressive. But, yeah, it's just so insane, the aerial dashing and dodging and jumping and flying. And, it was a 5 out of 5 game.
Wow.
Brilliant. Nothing wrong with it.
And it's not a long game, is it? It's not. Oh, it's fairly long, but it's not. It's not Elden Ring.
It's not Elden Ring long, no. But there's 3 different endings to go for. So once you've finished it, you can go back and start working towards another ending, the same way you did in Elden Ring. Wow. So yeah, it's very, very impressive.
Wow. Okay, another good one for Paul. He's a lovely time.
Absolutely.
I'm going to talk about, which I talk about now. I talked about this. I don't know if I did. Maybe because we did Starfield. Chance of Senar is a game that came out. It's out now. It came out mid-September. Maybe it's early. Maybe it hasn't come out. Yes, it has come out. The reviews are.
It is mid-September.
Yeah, it's mid-September. It's out now anyway. And I was intrigued by this. It's kind of like, you can imagine a sort of like, when you download it, it was under a gig. And I was like, oh my God, what's this going to be like? I don't know how they got it into a gig. It's like an 8 to 12 hour game. It looks stunning. It has that kind of beautiful kind of art, almost like games like Journey has that kind of beautiful kind of sandy. You're sort of basically this person traveling through a version of like the Tower of Babel, like a big tower. And in this tower, all these people speak these different languages. And you're just trying to work out and put all these languages together. So how it works, it's like on its surface, it's like just an adventure puzzler when you're trying to work out pulling levers, trying to get through and all that. But the big mechanic is like when you meet someone, for example, they will talk and they will have symbols, and you've got to work out what that symbol is. So they might, of course, wave. And after a while, you might go, okay, that's hello. And you can use a symbol at any point and just type in what you think it is, which might be wrong. So you might type into on the Xbox keyboard, hello. Or you might say door, or open, or close. And then you get this little notebook that has symbols at each kind of like area. You have kind of like 4 or 5 symbols of things. You have to match the right symbol to it, if that makes sense. So if you've got a picture of someone pointing, and what you're trying to do is get the right symbol to that pointing, and then at the same time you've typed in the word of like you. Yeah, and then you start to, and then when other people speak to you, they start to fill in the bits of language that you filled in start to come out, and sometimes you have to go back, make a mistake, and then you might come across images and murals that you have to kind of work out what that is as well from this language. It's a really intriguing mechanic, but also the world and the kind of like the sort of like visual. It's all visual storytelling more than anything. It's just really stunning. To get it under a gig, I don't know how they've done this. It seems weird, but I really enjoyed it, and I did give that a 4.5 out of 5.
Did you?
Score, yeah.
Is this where I have to take the mickey out? You know?
No, you can't. That's my only one. You've had about 20.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's my favourite score.
It's your score. But yeah, I'd give that a go. I mean, I think it's about 15 quid or something. So it's if you like that kind of like the sound of that, something very new, give that a go.
No giant robots or explosions in it, then.
It's not for you.
No.
What's your next game?
You're going to have to give me a hint.
What about the Crew? Have you played the Crew?
I've played a bit of the... You see, Neil's reviewing the Crew.
Yeah. And
he looks for different things in games than I do, much like you do.
Yeah.
Now, the Crew looks like... You know when a popular film comes out and then you get all these hopeless script writers at home writing fan fiction?
Yes.
This is somebody sat at home writing fan fiction for Forza Horizon 5.
Wow.
Everything, I mean, it does everything Forza Horizon 5 does, but not as well. So I don't want to be too mean about it, because I know Neil enjoyed it, and we had fun with it the other night when we were playing it. But everything's too shiny. There's not very much damage on the cars. So, you know, when you get to the end of a course after battering it off rocks and everything, it still looks like it's just rolled out the showroom.
Right.
The handling is peculiar. It's very strange. But it's got heart, I think, is the best thing you can say about it.
Right. There's
some interesting ideas in there for races. Like there's we did one where you had to we were driving around in cars from the 1950s, so they don't have GPS, so you don't have a minimap, and the route that they wanted to show you would appear in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, as a photograph, like a black and white photograph showing you a landmark and which way you had to turn at it. So that was quite interesting, driving around, finding the places and going the right way. But other than that, it's all the music's terrible.
Right.
I don't think I apart from like the 1950s songs, like These Boots Are Made for Walking, I don't think I recognised a single song on the soundtrack. Obviously, I'm not the target demographic, but it's an odd one. It's nowhere near Forza Horizon 5.
Is it trying to be that though, or is it trying to do its own thing?
Well, it's set in Hawaii, and you have different playlists to do. There's an off-road playlist. There's an Explore the Place playlist. There's a Japanese made in Japan playlist sort of thing. So yeah, I mean the categories are almost exactly the same as Forza Horizon 5's.
Right.
But yeah, it just doesn't quite do it for me. But obviously Neil will have his own thoughts.
I think it's getting all right reviews. I think it's maybe getting sort of 7s and things like that. I think people are talking about microtransactions. I've read about that.
Oh God, yeah, they're straight there. Yeah,
right.
And the minute that when you look at the map, it's a typical Ubisoft map. It looks like somebody's just filled their nose with icons and sneezed all over the screen. But yeah, I mean the microtransactions, that was a big no-no.
Right.
It was like, do you want to buy this car with these things that you have to pay real money for? No, I don't. Thank you very much. So, yes, I don't like a microtransaction. I'm not a fan.
No. Good. There you go. The Crew Motorfest coming out. It's out now, isn't it? It's out at this moment.
It is out now, yeah. It's out.
That's a lot of games out. I'm going to just talk about a FMV game, full motion video game, that by Wales Interactive called The Isle Tide Hotel. I've reviewed this, and it's Wales Interactive rather kind of like. There's a few now. But Wales Interactive are one of the ones that basically, I think, one of the first ones to launch the sort of full motion video genre back into the limelight. But I think The Bunker was their first one. Maybe I got that wrong. And that was about 6-7 years ago. And as time goes on, it gets bigger budgets. And the Isle Child Hotel is a game. And the idea of the game is, right at the start of the game, a young lady sort of gets kidnapped by this, I'm not going to spoil anything, but most unusual kidnapper you ever know in your life. And her dad, who's a private detective, goes to this place called the Isle Child Hotel, which only opens for 3 nights every 3 years. And so,
how does it stay in business?
well, we don't know, and this place is like a cult. So I think the best way, so when they go there, it's lots of weird stuff that happens. There's very cult things. There's mad scientists somewhere. There's strange things happen in the room. It's like a mixture of The Shining and The Wicker Man. That's what I would say, those 2 films. And it hasn't reviewed very well. I had a really good time. You know me, I like the weird. And what I really liked about it was the ambition. It was their biggest cast. It had an amazing kind of costume budget, set budget. It looked great on the film. And it is really, really bizarre. And in a good way, it's kind of bizarre because it's taking a risk. It's like watching, as me and Paul might know, those films you would watch in the 70s, horror films, from British Hammer Horror. It felt like one of those. But you look at it going, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm quite enjoying myself. And the problem is it does really require multiple playthroughs. Because if you do your first playthrough, you might have then you go, I don't know anything here. What's happened? But you do a second playthrough and then you go, oh, I'm starting to thread. But the problem is when you have to do a playthrough, you have to repeat certain bits and the pacing. And Wales Interactive do this a little bit. The pacing's wrong. So say, for example, I'm looking which to go left or right, and then we make a decision on the controller. Let's go left. Then it will cut back to the character and they sort of look to the left for a bit. And then they sort of go off to the left. That little gap that they have before they go, is quite long, and so the pacing feels very, very slow. And if you do have to repeat something or do something again, oh my god, you want to cry. So I think they've had it a couple of times in their games. But other people I know, other FMV, will literally do that cut, so you'll make a decision and you're instantly doing it. There isn't that space. And that's what puts me off a bit. But I really applauded that kind of ambition. You're never going to play a full motion. No,
I'm never ever going to play a full motion game recommended by you.
It's such a niche
I'm
market.
beginning to think you're actually getting paid by Wales Interactive the amount of games that you play.
I do a lot. But it's give it a go. If you're one of those people who love these kind of games, I think you're going to give it a go anyway. But yeah, but it is getting hammered a bit. Let's do one more, Paul. Should we do Revhead?
Let's do Revhead. Oh,
what's Revhead?
It's flipping dreadful, is what it is. I've really had to sort of bite my tongue there. Revhead. It's a game set in Australia where you move there and go to work for somebody mending cars. So you have to get a car in, they'll tell you what's wrong with it, you swap all the bits out that are wrong and send it on its way, and then you make a bit of money. And then you can buy your own race car and go racing. So, it sounds like a decent setup for a game. It's just been implemented so poorly. Right. I was sat there playing it the other day. I just got in my car for the first time to go for a drive. And my son peeped over the back of the settee where he sits playing with his Xbox. And he said, why are you playing a Nintendo 64 game on your Xbox? That's how bad it looks. The cars are just boxes. The buildings are just boxes in this town. And the controls are dreadful. The engine note is just a constant, and that's all that happens.
Right.
You can walk around this town as your character, not in a car. And if you walk, it takes 300 years to get to the end of the road. And if you run, it looks like you've had an accident in your trousers. It's going to get... I haven't written the review yet. I'm trying to find enough sort of similes for dreadful to make it worthwhile writing, but it is not going to be getting a 4 out of 5, I'll tell you that.
Right, good. Right.
Honestly, I've not played such a bad game for a while.
Good, thank you, Paul. And that's okay. I'm not going to do my last one. I'm going to move on because we've got a bit to get through. Let's talk about the PlayStation State of Play. Did you watch any of it, Paul? Did you got?
I watched all of it.
Oh,
Gareth,
there you go. Brilliant. Well done. Yeah.
I'm glad that I've got an Xbox because that was the worst fucking showcase I have ever seen. If that's all PlayStation owners have got to look forward to over the coming year, I'd probably just sell it and get an Xbox.
That's Jack. Well, it's a weird thing they said because they announced it like they always do now, like the day before, which must be for for people organising things like this or stuff like that. It's a nightmare. And I thought they said it's going to be third party games only and indies.
Yes, that's what they said.
But they were first party games, weren't they?
There was Spider-Man, and then there was Final Fantasy as well, weren't there?
Yeah.
So but some of the indies on there. I mean, that first game that we saw, Baby Steps.
Well, let's talk it through. Let's go through some of the stuff. Let's talk about Final Fantasy, which is a big reveal, which we know about. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is they've got a date for that now. It's coming out February 29th, 2024, and we saw a big trailer for that game. Interesting. I mean, interesting. There's so much going on there. I mean, I'm not one to even remember. I've played the original games and I can't remember any of it, of course. So it's quite nice. So when I played the remake part 1, I was like, oh, this is good. Even though they did completely different things, everyone says, but I had a really good time with it. I loved that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This will be good fun. And it looks mad. There's lots of things going on. It was wasn't he on a, what's it called? Those little bike things that you stand up bikes.
Oh yeah.
He was on one of those for a bit.
He was. That's when you get to the Golden Saucer, you can do sort of arcade games. And it takes you back. In the original game, you played the game, and it took you back to the the bike chase when you were escaping from Shinra HQ.
Yeah, that's right.
And that I think that was what that was going back to.
Then he was abseiling with the chocobo.
Yeah, he was climbing up mountains.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the big things with Final Fantasy VII, the original one, was breeding different chocobos together until you eventually got a golden one. I must have spent hours and hours and hours back in the days when the only way of finding out what you needed to do was to buy a magazine with a guide in. So there was no internet.
Yeah.
So this is what it was like when the world was black and white, kids. But yeah, I was impressed with the way it looks, but why was Aerith still alive?
Well, they're not going to show that in the thing, are they?
Well, it just seemed to be further on in the game than I remember.
But she might not die in this because it's a completely different. Without spoiling the first one, if you haven't played it,
if you haven't played the first one that launched in 1997, you've
missed the first remake one. It has a completely different thing that happens at the end that makes it an alternate universe sense of it. So without spoiling too much. So they could do whatever they want. I mean, that was the whole point. I think they went, we're going to do stuff with the part 2 and part 3, but it will go its own way now. It's not, don't rely on it being like the originals.
Well, yeah. So, but that act was one of the turning points of the whole game. When Sephiroth was big bad and killed poor Aerith. Yeah. I mean, I still remember the music now as that little piece of materia bounced down the steps. Yeah. If they take that out, then that's going to be a complete change. That's not just a reimagining. That's a whole rewriting.
Yeah. Might do. It's on 2 separate discs, which is kind of like going to be mad. The developer says there's about 100 hours of gameplay there. So,
but did you see the thing as well about you can't carry your character over from the first one? It was on the Twitter that one of the people that made the game, some Japanese fella, I can't remember his name, but he said that the characters that you've created in the first game will not be carried across to the second.
All right.
So you've done all that grinding and got all that gear for nothing.
I can't remember what else. You only play as one character, don't you? But I suppose you got all that gear and stuff. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I can't.
So it seems like an odd decision.
But it's got 3 months PlayStation exclusivity, so it's not going to
It's
be.
easy for you to say.
I know it's not going to be. So at the moment they're saying that we'll come to PC, but everyone's going, "Oh, is it coming to Xbox?" So that's the big thing. That's the big question. So they've only got 3 months, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? For that. So will there be a sort of surprise? There could be a surprise. Would there be a surprise Xbox Part 1 and Part 2?
Well, you'd like to think so, because they've got bitten with Final Fantasy 16 being PlayStation only, aren't they? So maybe they're going to start wising up and thinking, do you know what? If I make this game available to the other half of the world's gamers, then we might make a bit more money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just seems like basic business to me.
There we go. So that's coming out February 2. That was their big one at the end. It's only half an hour long, this thing. We saw some more Spider-Man stuff. Spider-Man 2, which there's lots of things about different spider suits, which people like. And it just showed you a bit more of the city and how it works. You can swap between the two Spider-Mans, Miles Morales as well. Almost instantly, they said. But there'll be certain kind of missions that you can maybe Miles Morales would do on his own. You need him to do it, and the same as probably Peter Parker. I mean, it looks. I had a lot of fun with Spider-Man. I just loved, and it just looks so quick now as well, compared to that first one with PS4. Just like zooming along those, just looks so dynamic, so actually web zooming along. It's going to be great. It will be a great game for people who like Spider-Man. I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great game, even if you don't like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, you haven't got much more else to look forward to.
That's your big one. That's your Christmas one. And then we had, of course, the game that keeps on giving, Resident Evil 4.
Oh, good grief.
Have you played that game yet? Have you played
No, I told you, I haven't got time to play games.
Oh, I've got the sleeve for that, by the way.
Oh, you found it now,
yeah, so you can have that.
Cheers.
Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways DLC, and Ada follows her journey. Have they done this before then? I don't know.
I can't remember. It's that long since I played it. But it seems familiar because you just drop into the story at different points as Ada, don't you, rather than playing along as Leon. I don't know if it's new, but
But people like that. They like that game. I love that game. I had a really good time with it. I think you will.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy it once I get around to playing it. I just need to have a few moments.
VR2, it's in virtual reality, which they promised, and that's going to be, I think they're talking about sometime in the winter. So, yeah, that's their big one.
Yeah, that's they did. We're talking of VR2. They did Ghostbusters as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
which actually looked quite interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
it could be a lot of fun if you've got 4 people. It could be fun. Yeah, exactly.
You have to have a rich bunch of friends, though, for everybody to have a VR2 headset.
You would do, exactly. And then we had Avatar, which has come to Xbox as well, of course, which is their third-party one. We had a little story trailer there. I'm quite looking forward to this game. But I'm the only one out of the Xbox hubbers, I think. It's coming out December 7th.
You can do the review for that.
I'm quite happy with that one. I quite like look at this. It looks good fun. Then there was some stuff. Now, this is the one that Paul hates, and I quite like. Baby Steps.
Oh, you're kidding me, aren't you?
I did. It just made. I'm the only person who's made laugh twice. I like him going. I like to meet that guy and then saying, "How do you get over grapple? You've got to grapple." And he just falls off. That made me laugh.
And we were just sat there watching it, first trailer up, and he's saying, "Grapple that fucker. I'll grapple that fucker. You grapple that fucker." And my wife and son were sat there going,
"Oh no,
what?
No."
Did we just hear that? Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, she did." Yeah. And it just looks. Oh no!
It looks like a kind of what's those words? It's like a gravity game, isn't it? You're really
it's sort of physics based. I think.
Yeah.
But it looks flipping dreadful, Gareth. It looks absolutely awful.
It's not coming out for ages. It's coming out summer 2024. I mean,
goodness me, maybe they'll have a chance to make a game out of it then, because at the minute.
And then there's Roblox, of course, which has come to them. And then Helldivers 2. There was a little bit about that. That looked quite good.
That looked awful.
Yeah.
Do you not think it looked really
it looked
bad?
all right. It's not my type of game, but it looked all right. I mean...
No, it's exactly my type of game. And I just thought the graphics looked really poor.
It's meant to look great, wasn't it? Wasn't it using Unreal Engine 5? That's what I thought it was, the held up. Maybe I've got mixed around with something else.
Maybe they've got rid of that and they're using Unreal Engine 2 because it didn't look very good, to be fair.
Well, isn't that come to Xbox as well? Is it just PlayStation 5?
I don't know. I hope not. I hope it's a PlayStation exclusive.
It's coming February the 8th for PlayStation. And then Foam Stars was back again.
Again, my son popped his head up and went, why are they making Splatoon for the PlayStation? And I had to explain it was nothing like Splatoon because it's not ink on the floor, it's foam. It's completely different. So
I think as well, I think you're right about the, I've got a PlayStation. I love the PlayStation as well. I like having both. I love playing both. But that is, if you're saying that's a state of play for an indie and third party, there wasn't much indie games there.
No. And they had to have the two big hitters at the end to sort of lift it. And
it was, baby steps is their indie, but that's not coming out to 2024 summer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of time before that. And you feel like you must have more. And I do think all this, I think some PlayStation fans, when they not shouting about Starfield and arguing about that stuff, but some PlayStation fans have gone, they feel a bit disrespected by them because they're not getting the announcements. Like they didn't show up, did they, at the last festival thing we did in August? What was that called? Is it Gamescom?
Gamescom.
No. Yeah, so they weren't really had a presence there. So I think they need a bit. I think they must have stuff, but maybe they don't release it. But they've got to have a little bit more of a, because normally they've been doing new state of plays every couple of months. So what? Yeah. Are they going to get one in November? Is that the next one? Is it? Are they going to do something?
Is that just going to be all Spider-Man then?
Yeah. Are they going to do something special with Spider-Man?
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I say, PlayStation fans, if that's what you've got to look forward to, come over to the dark side. You can play Starfield.
You can play Starfield, yeah. Good. Tomb Raider. Let's just talk about that briefly.
Tomb Raider, I am so excited for this.
So they announced, I think it was yesterday, or maybe today, Tomb Raider, the originals 1 to 3, the remastered trilogy.
Yeah, and the DLC as well.
DLC is coming to, first of all, they come to Switch, and then they said it was coming to Xbox and PlayStation as well. So that's got a February release, a big February, massive February month.
It is, yeah. It's good. But I'm very excited for these. I used to love playing the Tomb Raiders back in the day on my PlayStation 1. Yeah, absolutely pumped for this. And seeing the way the graphics had moved on as well, that's quite good.
I haven't had a look at the video of it, so have you had a look at what they're doing with the new stuff?
It showed it all on the Nintendo Direct thing.
Right.
So, yeah, we watched it, and it showed you, like, old graphics and new graphics. So, like, in the first game, she stood there with the world's pointiest breasts. And then when they'd remastered it, they were a little more rounded and stuff. I mean, that's obviously the most important thing for Lara Croft fanboys.
But it's not a remake like a Resident Evil 4. So it's just a remaster. So
it's a remaster, I believe.
Okay, fine.
Which is fine because you don't need to do anything to the gameplay. The gameplay was brilliant back in the day, and I'm sure it still holds up now.
I love a Tomb Raider game. I love a Tomb Raider game. Are we going to get a new Tomb Raider? We must. I thought there was rumours of that.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out. It's being developed by Crystal Dynamics, apparently, and it's being published by Amazon, I understand.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, yeah, quite looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so that's coming out. So that's very exciting. Do you know anything? Talk me through this Unity price plan. Do you know much about this? I don't understand.
Unity what?
The Unity plan pricing and package updates.
I would talk you through that, Gareth, if I had any idea what you were talking about. It's almost like I spent all night last night in A&E and didn't do my homework.
I think this free to Unity is development tools, isn't it? And stuff
programming language.
So, and it was free to, I think, and they're going to introduce a fee based on how many times a game is downloaded by a user.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think...
Because a lot of the little sort of games that you see all have developed with Unity on them. So, like the small little indie shooter games and that I get to review a lot of, they are normally made with Unity. Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
They've already had death threats.
That's just the default reaction these days, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't like something, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. So... I mean, I think it's just I think that's what's happening. It's causing a bit of a stink, but I don't know what we haven't got much to come ago. I don't know what their thing was before. I don't know how it worked before. I think there must have been a subscription service before, how much you can have, because it's about storage as well. It's like any of these things like Wix and stuff. But yeah, they've upset people because they've introduced a new way of. But I think it's every time it's downloaded. So if you've made something and it's like huge, you're gonna have to pay them money back.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Luckily, most of the games that use Unity are not going to go huge because they're normally quite rubbish.
Yeah. Oh well, hold on. It's my games you're talking about, the ones I review.
Exactly. That's what I said. Rubbish.
Right. That's it. That's going to be a nice little short one. I like this. More of this.
Oh, good. You can get on and
this.
Get
great.
to the pub soon.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Now, what are we looking forward to next week, Paul? Anything? What's going on?
Possibly being able to walk. That'll be my favourite. Other than that, nothing really, I don't think.
When's the new Forza game out? That must be soon.
October.
It's really early October, isn't it?
It's quite early October, yeah.
Okay. Right.
And they've already announced a crossover from that to Forza Horizon 5 as well. So that's going to be quite interesting.
Because
you get new cars in it.
There was a little showcase, wasn't there? A little video of gameplay and stuff. Did you watch that?
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for it. I've already put my request in for the code,
Oh, have you?
I need to review it because obviously I'm the Xbox Hub's driving correspondent, apart from the crew, which I hate, so Neil can do that one. And if it'll be payback for having to review all those motorbike games anyway.
Oh, yeah,
I really don't get on with.
True. So that's it, and I think what am I looking forward to next week? I'm going to that game you reviewed, Lies of P. Life of Pi. Yeah.
Life of Pi, you need to get on that because it's really, really good.
Tuesday.
It'll be right up your alley.
Now, Paul, if we need to get hold of you, where do we get hold of you?
If you need to get hold of me, I am on X and Threads, and my handle is at XboxHubPaul.
Brilliant. And you can get me on GB Briley, but we'll be back next week. I think we've got you back next week. We've got Richard as well, maybe one more. But for now, thank you very much, Paul, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. You'll be able to find all the notes of this show at www.thexboxhub.com/podcast. You can also check out our social feeds on Instagram and Twitter at The Xbox Hub, and search for The Xbox Hub on Facebook.